I had a client tell me one time, she said, you were born with a different gene. And I was like, huh? And she said, oh, you got the joy gene. She was like, I've never met anyone as joyful as you. And I thought that was, so flattering and so sweet of her to say, but I don't have a rhyme or reason. It's just who I am. It's just how I operate. And it's just, if I had to give anyone credit, I'd just say it's my mom and how she raised me.
Hey there, I'm Amy.connell. Welcome to Graced Health, the podcast for women who want simple and grace-filled ways to take care of themselves and enjoy a little chocolate in the process. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who wants you to know your eating, movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you're called to do. Today's guest is someone I've been watching on Instagram for a while. I'm so thrilled Dr. Yonnie Procter agreed to come on the show to discuss her role as a physical therapist and trainer in an online space. We talked about how physical therapy has evolved, what kind of foundation you should have before trying some of the movements you may see on the socials, some of her fitness toys that will literally take you back to elementary school, and more. Dr. Yonnie Procter, also known as Yonnie, is a doctor of physical therapy from Elba, Alabama, by way of Yonkers, New York. Currently, Dr. Procter is using her skills, knowledge, and expertise of the body in a hybrid approach to not only treat, and I love how she says this, but train dope humans in the Los Angeles, California area. She provides personal training, manual therapy, strength and conditioning, and of course, physical therapy. Her mission is to joyfully inspire, and we do talk about that a lot, her joy, inspire and empower individuals through movement and education. You can find her enthusiastically smiling and leading the way as a female powerhouse in strength, creativity, and mindset while inspiring thousands through her online program. Dr. Procter will empower you to identify your inner beast and then let it roar. Now, before we get on, I do have a special free program I just put together for women who want strong legs, but aren't able to do squats and lunges. You may still feel like you're 26, but your knees beg to differ. It's important to keep those strong legs though. Head over to gracedhealth.com/stronglegs to receive 12 exercises, a demo video showing you all of the proper form, 3 customizable workouts, plus a super simple way to incorporate a couple of them into your warm-up, no matter what you're going to be doing. Okay, let's bring on Dr. Yonnie. Dr. Yonnie, I am so glad you are here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Amy. I'm actually happy to be here. First one of the new year. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, I have to say, I have been admiring you for a while, and I don't remember, it's really funny how we get introduced to people on the socials and particularly like on Instagram. And I want to say that I was introduced to you by a friend who sent me one of the really amazing videos that you put together. And she was like, Amy, are you going to do this? And I'm like, no, I don't think I can do that.
I'm curious to know which video, but I'm pretty sure it's been too long. But yeah, that's exciting.
It was a while ago. But, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but one of the things I just love watching on all of your videos is just your joy and your smile and all of that kind of stuff. But before we get into that, can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, my name's Yonnie Procter. Some people call me Dr. Yonnie. I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I've been practicing now 9 years, coming up on a decade in this field. But yeah, 9 years I've been practicing as a physical therapist. And just as of late, I've incorporated more of a hybrid style where I treat and train. And I think as a overall, like the profession is kind of working towards that. I can't speak for everyone in the PT space, but I do know that people are just, more invested in what's after injury, what's after, once I've rehabbed. And I love that. I love to play. I love to be active. So I also like to work with individuals who want to be on, want that type of approach as well. So once I get you out of crises and you're no longer in pain or, rehab from your injury, I'd love to take you on and get you better for just life or whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think that's such a broad perspective that sometimes people, I don't want to say they forget, but it's like, you get so focused in the weeds of whatever it is that you're doing. And it's like, oh yeah, I just really just want to be vibrant and, be able to move and all of that kind
Right,
of stuff.
right.
What drew you? I'm curious. What drew you to physical therapy?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I won't share the whole thing. But I will say I didn't have a typical draw to it. Amongst my classmates, I remember a teacher had asked us that, like, how did you get here? And a lot of my a lot of my classmates were in physical therapy in some capacity. They had injured themselves, or they had taken their grandmother or their parent or something to physical therapy. So they had that experience or exposure to it, and then decided, like, I think I can do this. And mine was a little bit different. So in my 11th grade year in high school, one of my teachers gave us personality tests, and we took them. And I think it was 2 out of 3, or either 3 of them. I can't remember, but they all said physical therapy, and I didn't even know what it was, nor had I ever been or seen it, or I didn't know what it was. And it wasn't as sexy and popular as it is now with social media and getting to see what a physical therapist actually does. So I just knew that it was in the medical field, and my mom had encouraged me to go into something in the medical profession, saying you always have a job because people are always going to be sick or hurt, etc. That's very true now,
Uh-huh.
but so that was kind of it. It was more so scratching the checking the box for my mom wanting to do something that appeased her satisfaction. And then the other one was like, well, I don't want to be a nurse and I don't want to be a doctor. Nothing against them, but
Right.
I think this could work with me based on my personality. That's what it said. So when I went to my first year in college, they were like, "What's your major?" I said, "Physical therapy," and they said, "No, no, no, that's not a major."
Yeah,
So
it's so
I just
true.
went in like green and just like, I want to do physical therapy. And it kind of worked out for me. But that was pretty much how I got into it.
That's really cool. So that's funny that you say that about the guidance from your mom. So when I was a junior in high school, and it's like, okay, where am I going to go to college and what I'm going to major in and all of this kind of stuff. My dad, this was back in the day when we had like real newspapers,
Right.
and my dad pulled up this newspaper and he said, "Amy, I just want you to look at this." And he said, "Look at the classifieds for, banking, and look at the classified, like this is where you look to go get jobs, right?"
Yeah.
And he said, and then he said, "Look at all of the medical field out there." And it was like page after page after page of medicine. And medicine and the sciencey stuff was definitely not in my path, but he really opened my eyes to to healthcare administration.
Hmm.
So because I had the business stuff, and that was really like I was pretty honed in on that almost most of my college. And then I realized that I had to go to get a graduate degree, and that I didn't want to do that. So I took the
Mhm.
first finance degree I could get out of
Yeah.
college. But the same thing, it's like people are always going to be sick, and we don't
Right.
have the newspapers anymore, but the same premise, like there's
Right.
always going to be a need for that.
Excellent. Yeah, that's true. I'm grateful for my mom for that direction, though.
Yeah, that really is. That was really great foresight. So
Yeah.
were you an athlete or anything? I feel like the answer is going to be no if you weren't exposed to physical therapy, because I've got athletes who both have been to PTs.
Oh, I've been an athlete since I could walk, and
Oh, okay. You
yeah,
just didn't get hurt.
I did not
Okay.
get hurt. I was a very fortunate athlete. I think I played college basketball and softball, and the most I ever injured myself was a sprained ankle and a jam finger. But I never ever had anything that sidelined me and I couldn't play, or that I needed physical therapy. So I didn't get that exposure, which is good. I'm grateful for it.
Ooh,
But
I
I am
like it.
learning some things about my body now, and kind of putting myself in patients' shoes. So it is like hands on kind of learning with injuries that I've experienced like as of late.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that definitely helps. And I think too, the knowledge that you get in the field that you're in probably helps you prevent that. I'm curious how the industry has changed in the last year, 9 years that you've been in it.
Well, I will say I think social media has had a pretty huge impact on the PT space. None. It's much more popularized. I think
Mhm.
in my terminology, it's sexier, you
Uh-huh.
know, because you thought of PT in the traditional sense of people wearing khakis and polos, and they come in and, you know, with their walker, and they want to get your grandmother up and walk her down the hall. But no, now you're seeing it, and you're just getting to, I guess, a better view of what physical therapists do and the range that you can do it in, you know, in the different type of patients. And so I think it's morphed and it's grown, and it's actually been progressed, because when I first, like when I got out of PT school, we discussed evidence-based practice quite a bit. You know,
Mhm.
like it was kind of the new thing. Like everything needs to be supported by evidence. Why are you doing this with this, you know, patient? And, you know, is it the most efficient way to get them to, you know, this point? Now, like you see a lot of the research, and they're putting them in these 15, 30-second clips, 60-second clips on Instagram. And it's, I think the information is just going laser fast, and people are growing as a whole. If you're on that platform, some people, you know, I do think there are some other therapists or some dinosaurs who don't use social media, and therefore they're probably still doing the same old thing and not advancing. But I do think the profession has advanced quite a bit due to social media in the past, since I've gotten out of school, for sure.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, from looking at it from afar and as someone who has needed it, it seems
Mm-hmm.
to be a lot more holistic now than what you're talking about with the khakis and the, you know, the polos and all of that kind of stuff. Like it's prehab, it's post-hab, it's continued training. It's you know, like there's a physical therapist in the area who actually was on the show earlier in the fall, and he really, Ted Cargbo was his name, and he really focuses on, like, he'll get young athletes and like, hey, this is how you can prevent injury. And so, I mean, it just seems like there's a really a greater scope of how you can help your patients
Right.
now than what used to be.
Right. And I just one more point. So when I got out of school, I graduated in 2012. I had taken a course, I want to say it was 2014, 2015, one of those, maybe 2016, with Myo Detox. And they were new on the scene. I discovered them through social media. Actually, one of my colleagues, you know, would share their posts. It wasn't their post. Now it's their company. At the time, it was just one therapist who would share, you know, his approach with his patients, and then it was different. And just again, making the world much smaller through social media. He was in Canada, and I saw someone that I followed that said she took a course with him. I was like, wait a minute, there's a course? So I reached out and was like, I would love to learn from you. So then learn from him. Within that experience, this was different. They had physical therapists, chiropractors, personal trainers, and massage therapists all in one house. And
Oh,
it
awesome.
wasn't, and you know how it is here. It's changing now, but at the time it was very individual. Chiros do this, PTs do this. It was us against them type of thing. And so to see that holistic approach, to see those different disciplines all kind of get the patient better, I found that to be beautiful. And so I've seen people kind of adopt that type of approach more on as well, since, you know, just since I've been out of school. It's not the same. It's not as uh, you know, isolated, I guess you can say.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think I'm just witnessing that from afar too.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think if I were to come back in a different life, I would probably want to be a physical therapist.
It's right to be what you always want to be, you know? Mhm.
It is it's a fascinating field. I do love that. Okay, so let's talk about your Instagram feed for a second. So on this thing of social media, talk to me a little bit about just kind of your reach and your scope and how you're hoping to serve your audience. Because I know how I'm served, but
Mhm.
I don't know if that's in line with what you're trying to do, because you really are giving a lot. And just from the physical therapy side, from the encouragement side or whatnot, what are you hoping that the people who connect with you in your community gain from scrolling through and seeing Yanni style?
Well, you know, I will say this. As of late, I've thought more about that. When I initiated this, when I initiated it used to be Fit Doctor. I changed it because when I was on the Titan Games, they wanted us to have every social platform consistent. And Fit Doctor was taken on Twitter and Facebook, so I changed everything to Yanni Style. But prior to starting it, it was just a place to share my workouts and be of encouragement to someone like, hey, look, I'm doing it. And at the time when I started, I was living in New York and I'm from Alabama. So my family was in Alabama, and it was a way to show, just document that, look, I'm staying fit, I'm staying active. And I wanted, I want to encourage people basically. And now I've seen how people are curating their feed to be more educational or entertaining or whatever it is. And I really didn't have that agenda when it started. And I see now that it might be in my best interest to kind of have a clear message. But usually I share my workouts to try to encourage someone to move, basically.
Yeah. So would you like to hear what I
I'd
receive, how
love
you
to.
serve me?
I would love to hear how I serve you.
So when I see your stuff, I look at that and think this is someone who wants me to know that I can move in a lot of different ways and have fun doing it. Because you've got the biggest grin on your face with everything. And I'm like, I'm actually learning from you because I've been trying to do more videos. And I'm like, I need to start smiling.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear that you feel encouraged to try new things and to move and enjoy it while you're doing it. I do enjoy it. It's something that is not a chore for me some days, you know. Truthfully, another thing, when Instagram started with videos back in, dinosaur years, when they first started off with the video clips, I used to just post pictures, me in the gym.
Mhm.
I would do my workout, and this is what I would call like my medicine. I would do the workout, which I found to be pretty, routine. And then I would try something that I'm just like, I wonder if I stand on a Bosu and do deadlifts, how would that fare? And I would record it and post it, and people were, oh, it's so cool. So I would get reactions from people saying, that's so challenging, that's so difficult. And it was challenging and difficult to me. Or sometimes I would discover that things weren't challenging or difficult. It would just be I wanted to do something that I had never done, but I wouldn't ever show the stuff that I normally do that I don't find necessarily interesting. It's just medicine, just
Yeah.
movement. And I
Yeah.
remember once I told my brother, he said, you do a lot of upper body stuff. You got to kind of do leg stuff because women love leg stuff. And I'm like, the leg stuff is boring. Squats, lunges, like nobody wants to see that. You know how to do that, I did not take his advice, as you can see.
No, no, I think you're actually really proportionate, but I tell you what, you've got some great upper body musculature, that's for sure. Okay, so I want to go back to, like you were saying, there's a lot of things out there on the socials now. There's a lot of really interesting ways of moving our body, and that's something that I've started personally being a little bit more comfortable with. Like I kind of grew up in the era of like your body, like stick in a box. And now I'm like, oh no, we actually, all the transverse stuff and the multiplanar and, just moving in so many different directions. Since that's been part of my learning curve, definitely. But what kind of, because you've got this really cool feed where you do a lot of really neat stuff and then you have the knowledge behind it. So when someone is seeing this, what kind of foundation do you want them to have before they start jumping in and trying to do single, what was it that you did the other day? Like single leg balance on a Bozu with a row or something
Oh
like that.
yeah. Oh, you mean the little sweeping motion? Yeah. Oh, hey, that would prepare you for kayaking. Have you ever been on not kayaking? What do they call that?
Like
Paddleboard.
a up, sticking
That
up paddle.
was challenging, And so I
Yeah.
just tried to recreate that for just training. But definitely, if you're just getting started out, or you're just unfamiliar with, you don't have the awareness of your body yet, less is more. And so you want to stick with the basic movements, push, pull, rotate, press, walk, those basic movements before you try to like compound them. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't add a Bosu and do something like bicep curls if you've just never done bicep curls. Like just stand your feet on the floor and do bicep curls. So I think the less is more approach. It's so funny though, get this, because I've had several people reach out to me that want training, and then once I'm working with them, they say, "Oh, I see what you do on your Instagram," and I'm like, "That's nothing to do with you." What I'm doing. Let's get your body right, Or people who have told me I would never want to work out with you because you try to kill me, and I'm like, no, this is specific to you, and and less is more. And so there's some foundational movements that I want to see how you navigate those first. And then we want to add challenge to keep your brain interested, and B, just to, variety, spice. It's the spice of life, So
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's that's one of the challenges with the socials, right? Is like you get these little snippets and people assume that that's how it is all the time.
exactly.
And that's not necessarily how it is, and that's not how you would train, people who weren't ready for that. Yeah.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
get that. I get that. Okay, so do you just like to play around? I mean, in terms of like coming up with some, I mean, like let's talk about this rowing thing that you did. I mean, that just blew me away. And I really wanted to figure out a way that I could replicate that at home. And I still can't. I need I don't know what I need. I don't know if I need like a broomstick or what.
Yeah, you can use a broomstick and a TheraBand, and you can create the same
Okay.
thing. Well, you mean that particular movement?
I'm just talking about in general, because you have a lot of really creative stuff.
Well, I do find inspiration on social media too. Sometimes I'll see things. And here's another thing too. People may call it vain, but when I record myself and I see it, sometimes I get an idea based on, say I don't execute what I thought I wanted to do initially well, but just seeing myself move, I get an idea. Oh, maybe if I had a kettlebell, so I just kind of try things. And sometimes the return on investment is good. Sometimes it's like, oh, you could chunk this, or that's unnecessary. There's a lot of, form police and people on socials that have a lot of things to say, but it always just depends on what your goal is and what you're doing. I'm not an Olympic athlete, and I'm not preparing for a movie role where I need to be doing, I'm out here, I'm just moving my body, and I'm doing it in a safe manner for me and for my clients. But the creativity is just, I mean, I can't tell you where it comes from. It's my brain. It's the way it works. And sometimes I just have an idea. I have ideas, and I just want to try it out. And if it looks cool, and I think because I did something one time, and this is another thing, I don't tolerate people bullies. I love a healthy dialogue. I love when people ask questions. I love when sometimes I give unsolicited advice, and I try not to, but sometimes people will say, hey, I tried that move and it hurt my knee. And then I'll just go through and ask questions. That's on me. I share, but I don't like when people come on your platform and they want to call you irresponsible for sharing things that you do, or criticize you. And I'm like, okay, it's too much negativity in the world. This is an easy solution. I hit block and then I go on about my day. And so, but yeah, I think people got to take what they see on social or any platform, YouTube, whatever, take it at their own risk, try it at their own risk, and take it with a grain of salt. Cause you just never know. You just never know why people are doing things. And if they're not explaining it and they're just demonstrating, that's on you if you try. If you try that. That's why we have PCs in the world, security. I'm just kidding, but I'm serious.
I know you are. That's hysterical. But no, and I think you have every right to, protect your home and what you want people saying under your roof. So I'm
like I said, if you challenge me, you challenge me, and that's cool. I love a healthy dialogue, but some people come on to troll, and I just don't tolerate that. You don't have to say that to me. You keep that to yourself.
Totally. Okay, so I want to talk about something else that I see a lot, and that is your smile and your joy. So what drives that? Because I think a lot of people are a little more just a little more joyful in what they do. And I talk a lot about finding joy in your movement, and, how God created you to move. And some people love Zumba, and some people love running, and some people love lifting and all of that kind of stuff. So where does that come from? Or is that were you one of those little kids who just ran around smiling all the time?
Yeah, I really do think it's that. I do. I had a client tell me one time, she said, you were born with a different gene. And I was like, huh? And she said, well, you got the joy gene. She was like, I've never met anyone as joyful as you. And I thought that was, so flattering and so sweet of her to say, but I don't have a rhyme or reason. It's just who I am. It's just how I operate. And it's just, if I had to give anyone credit, I just say it's my mom and how she raised me. But yeah, I don't really have it's not intentional. I've actually seen a couple Instagram people, like who are pretty popular, who like you can see it. Like, it's like they're intentionally smiling for the whole movement. And I'm like, I applaud them, but I don't know if I could hold a smile during that entire, that entire set. But it's just natural. It's just how I am. And, I like it. I'm not frowning. Just think, do you know what they say? The RBF.
Yeah.
I'm grateful I don't have that naturally. So this is just a natural thing. But yeah, I do. But I will say this, to your point. I enjoy working out. It brings me joy. I feel really good about myself. It boosts my confidence. I feel like I'm doing the right thing with my body. I'm being, you know what I mean? And so it's a natural emotion. It's a natural expression of how I really feel when I'm training, when I'm working out. It's not easy, but I enjoy it. And so
Yeah.
I think that's what comes through,
Yeah.
So yeah.
I totally agree. And I think there's a lot of times, like, I am one of those crazy people who loves sprints. Like, I love sprint work. I never did I did the whole dancing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I'm definitely not smiling when I'm doing it, but it brings me so much joy on the inside. And you know what I finally figured out about the sprints? I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about meditation, and the host was talking about how she was swimming. And so she said, when I'm swimming and I'm, freestyle, and I'm just counting the laps, one, 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 two, 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 two. So when I run, I'm always working on my form because I don't have very good form naturally. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, um, elbows, elbows, toes, toes, relax, relax, elbows, elbows. So I'm trying to pull my elbows back, get some momentum there, land on my toes, and relax my shoulders because I tend to tense it up a lot. And I realized, I was like, I think I'm taking myself into like a really meditative state when I do that,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only thing that's going through my mind. And then I don't know if you meditate a lot. I've been trying to a little bit more lately, but
I have monkey brain, if that tells you anything.
you have what?
A monkey brain. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all over the place. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I do feel really good when I do it. So I don't know why I don't do it more often.
Yeah.
But so anyway, going back to the joy, like, I think you can get joy in lots of different ways, and you don't always have to be smiling, but it does come.
Right. And I think
It
that
does come
people express it
eventually.
differently, but you did make a great point. Just find what you enjoy. I don't think people, I think sometimes, like, okay, put it like how you just said it. You watch the feed and you say, man, she's so happy. I guess I have to do that to be happy. And then you do it and you're like, I don't like this. I don't like lifting weights. I don't like sweating. My mother says that. I don't like to sweat. I'm like, who says that? She doesn't want to work out because she doesn't like sweating. But find what you enjoy. My mother would get out and mow her grass, and she would wash her car, and she would, rake the leaves, such physical activities. And that's meditative to her. I really do. I think she has a good time doing that. So that's what I'm saying. Find what you enjoy and do it. And if it's in regards to movement and in regards to life, but find what you enjoy and do it. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be what other people do.
And if she was washing her car in Alabama, she was sweating.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. I don't know why she thinks they're two different sweats, but definitely gets out there when it's hot. Before the sun comes up, she likes to go out there and do it. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
find what you enjoy. Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit, because I do see you using a lot of different, what I call toys. So I call them fitness toys. And I kind of go in phases. Like, I really get into, I love the TerraCore. I don't know if you've used that or not. Oh, you don't know that? You got to check that
What is
out.
it? What is it?
So it's like an oblong Bosu ball, and then you can flip it around and it has handles on it. So
I've seen that.
yes,
Matter of
yeah,
fact, I saw that 80-year-old lady on TikTok using that. Yes, I did. It's like a long donut, not a circle donut.
yes.
Yep, I've seen that.
Yeah, there's nothing in the middle, but yeah, it's like an eclair shape.
I think I've
If we're
seen
going
that.
with the donut.
We're gonna talk about donuts and eat. Yes. Okay.
But anyway, I'm wondering if you have any favorite fitness toys right now of the moment, and what you really like and enjoy using.
Oh yeah. Well, my all-time favorite is the jump rope, and I just think that, especially now, something happened. I know it happened. This is a pandemic, and people are inside and they can't go out. They're afraid to run outdoors, or they can't get to the gym and get on the treadmill. So they're trying to get their cardio in. And a lot of people, the jump rope community has exploded. And I consider myself a novice. There's people who are elite and they go on shows and they're elite jump ropers. I know how to do a few tricks, and I can keep a pretty good tempo. But I love the jump rope because the possibilities are endless. It's portable. You can take it with you.
Yeah.
And you get a good workout. So that's my favorite tool. It's kind of a classic. It's not nothing. I don't. What do you call your thing?
A toy.
No, what do you call it?
Oh.
Though? What's the name of it?
Oh, the TerraCore?
Yeah, I never even heard of that. So I don't have that. But I will say this: if I want thinking modern, thinking new, I did buy Inertia Wave.
What's that?
Have you seen those? Okay, it's like the battle ropes, but with the battle ropes, you going against the resistance, the weight of the rope. The Inertia Wave, you use inertia to create the resistance, and it's easily portable. They're like elastic, cords basically, and they hook to they tie up to a wall or whatever, to anchors. And so they don't move like battle ropes. If you get in there and you try to do the mechanics like battle ropes, they don't move the same way. You have to kind of get into this rhythm and catch the wave, and then it gives you resistance. It's pretty cool. And then, like, you could put that in a book bag, but you're not carrying a battle ropes in a book bag. So it's
well, that's what I was going to ask. Okay, so it's not, they're not as heavy because those ropes are not light.
Yeah, they're not really feasible for, like, you're trying to walk somewhere with it. So Inertia Wave, you can round it up, roll it up, and put it in your book bag and keep it moving. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, you should check it out.
I will. And then tell me about, okay, so jump ropes are kind of there. Is there a brand that you like? Because I've had a really hard time with my clients finding some. I mean, they're all either twisting up, or they're like, I just, what I'm talking about. Like, they're just a mess sometimes. They're like, they hurt my hands. I'm like, I know. And so anyway, tell me about your favorite brand.
Well, I can give you a link and you can have all your clients buy it, because this is my favorite brand for a reason. I'm not just trying to sell. I'm not those type of people. It's a beaded rope. And so it's just like when you think, you would overlook it because most people think it's got to be something new, or this is what I used in elementary school. No, it's a beaded rope. And what I like about it, it's good feedback. And if you're a beginner with jump rope and you're trying to get the timing right, those beads are going to hit the floor and you're going to get that sound, that audible feedback. But the weight of it, it's a little bit heavier than, as you see people now with that wire. First of all, that should be, a crime to get hit with that, because it hurts. You know what I'm saying? So that hurt, that speed rope.
Yes, I can attest to this. Yes.
Right. So what you gain in speed, you lose in feedback. It's not as heavy, so you don't quite feel it. You don't get the feel and the timing of the rope. So yeah, but it takes a minute to catch on to it. But with the beaded rope, it's much better, much better feedback. Doesn't hurt when it hits you. It's like a fraction of the pain that you feel when you hit yourself with one of those vinyl ropes, or even one of the leather ropes. The old boxer ropes had the leather ropes. Yeah. So I love it. I encourage everyone who's a beginner or just trying to get back into the swing of things with a jump rope to use it. And it looks so elementary because they come in bright colors and it's beaded, but no, it's great. It's great for getting back into the swing of things.
Okay, I'm going to have to check that out. So one thing that I have started doing is, when I walk and when I'm around the house, I wear a whole lot of like foot supported orthotic type shoes. Like I wear the Hoka 1-1s and stuff like that because I get plantar fasciitis really well. So when I'm in the gym, I typically go barefoot. And then I sometimes do the jump rope with the really thin wire. And then when you so when you talk about them, like, I know exactly what that is, because when you miss, it just, it like rips a toe off.
It's a really good incentive not to miss.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Right? Oh gosh. Okay, so this is a little bit of a pivot. But I would love your thoughts as someone who is on the socials, on Instagram, putting out a lot of really great content and is Black. I know you have a lot of great influence over everyone. And I would like to think that you have some great influence over, young Black men and women as well who are seeing you. And, we're, I think some of the white community is realizing the importance of representation and all of that. And, I know that unfortunately we have such a discrepancy in healthcare in general right now in the Black community. So I'm wondering, how can we bridge that gap, or what is your hope for the Black community as a health professional?
I do agree with you. There are
Yeah.
disparities, and we know this. It's not just in the health and fitness space, it's across the board. But I do think that access changes things, access um, to different experiences. Education is really important as far as what you mentioned earlier, like bridging the gap between how it is now and what's ideal. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you have to first you have to know, like, the thought has to be in your head. You have to understand the value of movement, especially during a time like this.
Yeah.
COVID is ravaging, it's running through Black and Hispanic neighborhoods, and according to the statistics, if you're following them, it's disproportionate,
It is.
and you wonder why. You don't know. Is it because of education? Is it because of their awareness or understanding of how this virus spreads and how, or why? Like, why is that happening? And I think when you get down to the nitty gritty, I don't have the answer for that. But when you get down and you just try to start dissecting and get to the roots of what's going on, I would assume that it would come down to people's understanding or awareness, or
Yeah.
education on the topic. So where I grew up in a small town in Alabama. Like, I was in the country, I didn't even, we had like one neighbor, no kidding, on a dirt road. That was my upbringing. But just the community itself, I'm comparing it to places I've been. I lived in New York, I've lived in Houston, I've lived in Arizona and California. And just the way the communities are, the environment that they create to encourage movement, to encourage, activity is night and day. Like in
Mhm.
Alabama, there's no sidewalks in some parts of the town. Like, there's nowhere to even, like, it's not even encouraging you to walk. There's not even a sidewalk to get up this hill. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
things are so far apart the way it is in the South. Things are so far apart to walk. You're walking miles to get from this point to that point. And so whereas here things are a little bit closer, but just the way it's said, there's bike lanes and there's parks and there's trails and there's hiking. It's just the environment is set up and conducive for, moving your body. And we're seeing now during this pandemic that it's more important, if not than any other time, to have a really good health foundation and operate from a place that your body can fight off this foreign, this foreign big bad monster that's spreading like wildfire. And
Right.
so, just I don't know if this is a wake up call for some people seeing their loved ones die, because healthy people are dying too. I'm not saying that, but it's definitely hitting areas where there are lack of resources, where there's no Whole Foods. When there's no Whole Foods in the area, you understand what the socioeconomic status is for that area. And
Mhm.
so, I just think that this has to be a wake up call for people. If not, they're not paying attention. That how important it is to be moving and to have a movement prescription, to have a movement goal. It's not about getting into a bikini. It's not about um, getting prepared for your wedding. Like, this is your life.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is where you're operating from on a daily basis. And who could have predicted this? Like, who could have saw this coming? And to
Right.
know that your major defense is your health and you know what I mean? So I really do think it starts with education. Like, people need to know how their body can defend against so many things and prevent
Mhm.
so many things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all. That's
And
all.
how it's not as complicated as one might think, right? Like, move your
Mhm.
body, eat foods that you know where it came from as much as you can, which I understand is a discrepancy sometimes. It's a lot cheaper to
Absolutely.
go to McDonald's than it is sometimes to go get, you know, chicken and vegetables or fruits or whatever. And, get outside and get some fresh air and get some sunshine. Like it just it doesn't have to be that complicated, but there are so many barriers out there, particularly like what you're talking about with the socioeconomic and where it is. And, it's such a complicated issue. And, but I think too, what I love what you're doing, because you're making it accessible, right? And like a lot of the stuff that you're doing, they're things that people, that are going to encourage, people to maybe move and smile.
Yeah, body weight, and you don't need a lot of equipment to move your body. And that's one thing I share. It's a common thread. It's something that I always encourage people: just move, just go
Yeah.
move. Like it doesn't have to look like what I'm doing. Doesn't have to be in a fancy gym. Doesn't have to be with the ridiculous equipment that you
Paracord.
yeah, it doesn't have to be with that or my inertia weights. It could just move your body and show appreciation and gratitude for the body that God has blessed you with, and by moving it.
Right.
And I do think people can overcomplicate things, but I also am fully aware that we're not all starting from the same vantage point.
Right.
We're not all starting from the same starting line. It's not the same, even
No.
from early on. So I'm aware of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely agree. Okay. 2 more quick questions
Okay.
that I've been asking all my guests. The first is, I am fascinated by tattoos because I think oftentimes people, put a lot of thought into them before they put body art on their body for the rest of their lives. So I was wondering if you had any, if you would like to share maybe one of them and if it has meaning behind it. And if you don't, if you had to get one, what would it be and where would it go?
Interesting question. I do have one tattoo, only one.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it was a bad experience. I did it in Miami on spring break, but here's why. I think things through. I'm kind of one of those people, like I'm in my head a lot. I think about things a lot. And so
Uh-huh.
I had a classmate in PT school had this beautiful bouquet, colorful, on the top of her foot. Now, if you know anything about the skin on the top of your foot is very thin, and there's lots of bones under there. So whoever this artist was elite, because it was beautifully done. It didn't look like his hand was wiggling or anything like that. And the colors were very vibrant. And so I told her, I said, I want to go to that place. She's like, well, when we go to Miami on spring break, I'll take you to the spot that I went to. I said, okay, great. We go to Miami on spring break to this tattoo shop. We go in. She says, oh, the guy that did my tattoo's not here. And so I was like, oh, automatically, no thanks. I don't even know who this guy is, so no thanks. So the manager on duty, I'm assuming, told her that no, that guy, we let him go, but this guy's even better. And then I still have my eyebrow raised, like, I don't know. And so I always wanted a memorial tattoo, and it was for my grandmother who passed away in 2004. She loved bingo. She loved to gamble, and she loved bingo. Which grandmother doesn't? Most grandmothers love bingo. And so my idea was to get a bingo ball, and her initials Peggy. Her name's Peggy, so I was going to have P. And then her birthday's on the 14th, so I was going to have P14, and just in memory of her. But my spidey senses told me that this guy wasn't going to do a great job. So I didn't get it where I wanted to get it. I was going to get it on my ankle. I'm so happy I didn't. It was a horrible, horrible tattoo. I got it actually on my, kind of like my lower belly area, like pelvis area. And I'm just so happy. I don't think about it. I don't look at it. Nobody sees it because he did a terrible job. And get this, my 2 good friends were with me. I'm laying on the table, taking all the pain. And I get up to stand in this huge mirror and to look at it. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, oh no. You know that song? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. That's how I was looking at it, like, this is not it. This is horrible. And so I said to the guy turning, I said, oh, it looks great. And then he said, looks good. I said, yeah. And then my friends were like, you need to let him shave it in a little bit. And I was like, nope, it's great. Because I wasn't going to lay back down and keep letting him doodle on me.
Yeah.
So I said, nope, it's great. Paid him and left. And I never had it touched up. Don't show it. Don't look at it. But still, that's the memory I have. I don't have
There you go.
You know what I mean? Sorry.
But you still have P14 on it.
It's still, yeah, but it's
Okay.
my nephew could have drew that, and he's 10, but tattoos are permanent reminders of temporary feelings. That's what I've heard. And so I knew that my grandmother was not a temporary feeling, so I knew I would get that. and not ever regret it. But I regret the artist, but not the intention I
Yes.
had behind it.
Okay. I like that. I like that.
You got
Temporary.
tattoos?
I don't. I
Zero.
don't.
And this is your
Nothing.
favorite question to ask people that come on your show?
I love it. This is why I knew I'd like you. You're the first person who's challenged me on that.
Okay, I see you got me spilling the beans, and you don't have a tattoo.
No, I don't. I don't. And I find them. I really do. I find them fascinating. There's just been nothing that I have ever like said, yeah, I want to do this. I don't even know what I would get. I don't know where I would put it. I think if I did something, I might put it like on my wrist, maybe there.
I don't know.
I don't even
It's up to
know.
you. It's your body,
I think that's why I like it so much though, because people who are, like if you have them, you've kind of given some thought to it. So I want to know this
Not
thought process.
always, girl. Not always. You see,
No, this is true. This is true.
Athletes and rappers, they got all kinds of weirdo stuff on them. But I will say this, it made me have meaning. I don't know. But I will say this, my mom's coworker, her mother, like for her 80th birthday, went and got a tattoo on her ankle or her shoulder, I think. I can't remember. But it was a turtle driving a race car. So it was like a cartoon, but it was a turtle in a race car. And it had like smoke, like tire smoke behind it. It was cute. But I was 80-year-old. I think it was for her 80th birthday she got that on her. So you got some time to think about it.
I got some time. All right. I got a few years. I'll think about that. That's awesome. Okay. And then final question. Well, not final, but mostly final question. Do you have a meaningful Bible verse that you would like to share?
I love this Bible verse, and I'll tell you why. I was first introduced to it on a Nike basketball commercial. Basketball was the sport I played, by the way. You asked me, was I an athlete? That was like my passion since childhood. It was Shamiqua Holtzclaw. It was her voice over in the back, and it was like images of her dribbling and stuff like that. But it was Psalms 23. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear evil.
Yes.
You know the rest. That one.
I do. And you know what? I don't know. I know them, but I can never repeat them verbatim. So yeah,
I'm not that. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, thy comfort me. That. Yeah, that one. But I loved it from that commercial. That's when I learned it, because it was a basketball commercial.
Okay, Dr. Yonnie, where can people get a hold of you and connect with you?
Instagram. We've talked about that app the whole time. But yeah, Instagram, I'm on there at Yonnie Style, no spaces, YONNIESTYLE. You can email me if you like. You can email me at yonniestyle@gmail.com. I think after this conversation, we both need to get on TikTok and YouTube. we need to maximize our exposure, like Gary Vee says.
We can do a little collaboration. That was such a fun conversation. I've said it before, but I think this is just my favorite part about podcasting. It's having an excuse to connect with someone I've met online and learn more about their stories, what drives them, and just get to know them better. It's so fun. I'll put Dr. Yonnie's contact in the show notes, as well as the links to that beaded jump rope, Hello Third Grade, and the inertia wave. Go check her out. I know you'll want to follow her on Instagram in particular, because she's got a lot of really fun, cool stuff out there. Hey, this feels really hard and awkward to ask, but if you find value in this show, would you buy me a cup of coffee? Don't worry, I'm not going to take an hour of your day. I'm talking about a virtual $5 cup of coffee that supports the show. I have a lot of back-end costs associated with producing this podcast and the content on my website and socials. It's all free to you, but not to me. Any one-time or monthly support you can offer is greatly appreciated. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/Amy.connell. It's AMYCONNELL. I'll have the link in the show notes. And if that is not in your budget, I get it. That's fine. Please don't buy me a coffee if it's not. Just simply sharing any episode, this one or any of your favorite ones, to even one friend, to your Facebook friends, that helps. Or you can just leave a review if you'd like to be a little bit more anonymous. I'm totally fine with that. Okay, on to our final portion of the show, which is the one simple thing I hope you will remember. And that is just move your body. That's probably not going to be a surprise if you know me well. Just find joy, move your body, and throw a little smile on while you're at it. You can tap into your inner Dr. Yonnie. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.